Hey, what's up guys, you good Gypsy, and we are back here today for CPC finals, going up against the guy called Risepool in what should be a pretty fun game. I think the matchup is fairly even. I don't think there's any particular sort of favorite in this matchup in terms of team matchup, but he definitely has some threats, and I've got some threats to him, so it's going to be an interesting game. Celestial matches up very nicely in this game, being able to check stuff like Mega Scizor, naturally, Scolipede, his Mind Shower pretty well, his Gallade, can spread Toxics and Leech around his team. He doesn't have a Grass type actually, which is interesting, so Leech is pretty free over his team, bar Taunt and Submon, so that's pretty nice. Just a very nice defensive wink on this game, a very nice pivot if I need like a bulky pivot to switch into Scout, like a Van T-Tars move. It's going to do a lot, but I can always live any hit, protect up, Scout and switch accordingly. Very nice one in this matchup. Mixed defensive, so I can take on a potential Calm on you as well, get a Toxic or a Leech off guaranteed. Just a very nice solid mod in this matchup. Next we have Gren. Mystic Water Modest Gren is really nice here. Obviously, like, he has the Suicune, which is his primary water resist. It's his only real water resist actually, so we'll have to get that thing out of the way if we want this Gren to do anything. But Mystic Water with the Water Shuriken is a very solid revenging tool for stuff like Volcarona, Scolipede, even the Mind Shower if it's Scarfed, which I am potentially thinking he'll bring Scarfed. It's very nice for like a D-Dance T-Tar, Rock Polish T-Tar. And Hydro Pump hits really hard. Now I got Sub here. Sub is here to capitalize on switches on his part, fearing being knocked out by Gren. It's also here to sub down into Torrent range to boost the power of my Hydras and my Water Shurikens. Gren gets really strong in Torrent range, and Mystic Water just complements that nicely. It also allows me to sub up on a Scizor's U-turn that wants to U-turn out. If he wants to bring Scizor is obviously bad in this matchup, but if he wants to bring like a bulky Scizor to take on Laddie, or even my like Crocodile or something, he can always U-turn out into something like Ban T-Tar to trap, to dent Celesteela or Zard, my primary Scizor switch-ins. So that's something to keep in mind. If I sub up on his U-turn, I can always I can obviously keep Gren in there to then fire hit at anything that wants to come in. So yeah, very nice Gren. I had Toxic on this Gren originally to catch a Suicune, but Risepool likes to bring Crocoon to a lot of his games, and while I don't think Crocoon is very good this game in particular, because I do have, like, I've got Decidueye with potential SD, I've got Mariana which walls it indefinitely. He definitely could bring it. Toxic would be really nice for Vinecoon sets that want to come in and set up a sub in my face, but ultimately I decided to go with Substitute. I do have Toxic on Celesteela, and I have T-Spikes on my Mariana, so I also have Mariana to check any variant of Coon, so that's pretty nice. But the next one we have here is going to be Decidueye, defensive with the Colbert to be able to check stuff like Mind Shower. Mind Shower cannot break this Decidueye. It's very nice, even like +2 knockoff if he is for some reason Swords Dance. Obviously won't kill me. And I just check that thing indefinitely. It's a pretty nice check to Gallade as well, being able to destroy it with Spirit Shackle. And T-Tar doesn't appreciate taking a Leaf Blade. It'll comfortably 2KO it, freeing Zard up later in the game. So very nice one. Defog is here because if he does want to bring bulky stacking Scolipede with Endeavor or something, I can always Spirit Shackle up, trap him, and just defog with relative ease. His Mega Horns should be doing under half if he's Jolly. And it's yep, that's pretty much Decidueye. Removing rocks for Zard is pretty nice as well. And if he doesn't bring Volcarona, I will not be prioritizing rocks this game because his team isn't that weak to it. Unless he brings like Volk plus Scolipede, like an SD Scolipede or something like that, and a Volibee, I'm not really going to be prioritizing rocks. It's more important to defog away his spikes or rocks in this game. So the next one we have here is a pretty nice SD Zard. So this Zard is pretty nice. If he brings a bulky defensive T-Tar, which is probably his best, like one of his best responses to Charizard. If he's like Chopper with like max HP, a +2 outrage kills it with just from full, like without Rock's chip. It's pretty crazy how strong this side is. I've not brought SD all season, so SD could potentially definitely catch him off guard. The flame charge here is just to be able to get a speed boost on something like Scolipede or Scizor, or just on a sack. If he wants to sack something off, I can then outspeed the rest of his team, barring any faster Scarfers. So very nice side. I can take a +2 hidden power ground from max special attack Volcarona. I can live a +1 hidden power ground after rocks, for example, as well from full. Very, very nice mon in this matchup. So yeah, Zard is also a fantastic way of breaking down Suicune. So like a Calm-Mind Suicune. If I catch him on a rest, I can SD up and start outraging. His Scalds won't be doing too much. +1 or 2 Scald doesn't do over 50 to me, so that's pretty nice. I think +2 does around 50, so yeah, very, very nice side here. Then we have Mariana, the obligatory Coon response. So this thing just stalls out Suicune. Suicune cannot touch this bad boy. Like, Suicune, like, even if he's like hidden extra sensory or hidden power psychic, it doesn't kill me, and I can always haze him to remove his Calm Minds. T-Spike's pretty solid in this matchup for just setting them up if he doesn't want to bring Scolipede, or if he does bring Scolipede, I can set them up after that thing's been taken down. If he realizes that Suicune is walled by Mariana, he may want to switch out, and I can always poison it when it comes back in by setting them up. So very nice mon here, very important this game, very important. If I can keep this thing healthy, it's always going to check the Suicune. It also checks some variants of Volcarona lacking Psychic, and it can obviously check Mega Scizor as well, which is nice. It can non-banned Adamant T-Tars. Stone Edge doesn't even do 50, so yeah, very solid mon. Then we have my Lycanroc here. A pretty nice set. Sandrush if he wants to bring T-Tar, which he really should because he doesn't have too many Latios measures on his team, as well as Zard measures. Brick Break is very nice to just to be able to get the outs. I naturally outspeed it, and I can do a big chunk if T-Tar's chips. Then I just OHKO with Brick Break. Solrock is mainly here for stuff like Scolipede and Volcarona. Pretty nice to have that coverage, just to be able to, like, that priority, just to be able to take out those threats if they're boosted. And Stone Edge with the Rocky MZ is a big nuke versus stuff like Mew and Suicune. If I don't want to miss Edge and I just need to guarantee kill something, Z Stone Edge is very solid. And Stealth Rock's here as well. I mentioned if he does want to bring multiple rock weak mons, I can always set them up, but I am expecting he probably won't bring Volcarona just based on this matchup, and instead I'll be prioritizing Defog with my Decidueye. So that's going to be the team. Going to jump into the game in just a second. Alright guys, so we are here with a match up against Rise in the finals, and as you can see, he's opted to bring the Scully, the Munchao, the Fisk, the T-Tar, the Coon, and the Mew. So these, in my sort of team assessment, my matchup assessment, when I build these with the 6, I did expect him to bring Scully. Is just pretty nice to stack hazards versus me, obviously walled by a few things on my team, but it's definitely a nice mon depending on the set that he wants to bring. Munchao, solid Scarf, a potential AV user. He does like AV regen in certain games. Fisk is pretty nice to check Sally and stuff like Lycanroc. T-Tar, pretty nice like banded threat or potential trapper for stuff like Lati, maybe a defensive check for Zard. Suicune is amazing in all matchups, even though I have many checks even though I have a couple of checks stood on my team, it's just still amazing what it does. Mew's a bit of a wild card. It could be a few things. It could be defensive if T-Tar's offensive, but it also could be like Nasty Plot or Calm Mind, so that's something I'm going to have to be careful about, get some information on that early. So as far as leads go, I felt that he would potentially lead with his either a Hazard lead Scolipede, or a Scarfed or AV Munchao to get the U-turn off, scouting my lead, maybe scaring out my Lycanroc if I do choose to lead with that. And as a result, me leading Decidueye has a pretty good matchup versus whatever he wants to lead with. I am Colbur, so I take a knockoff from Munchao, I take a crunch from a T-Tar and weaken it. If he wants to lead Scolipede, I trap it in and can always defog on him if he does want to lead with that. So I'm going to lead off with Owl, as he does choose to lead off with Scolipede. Now, really, I lose nothing here by just going for Spirit Shackle. If he wants to SD, then that's going to make him an immediate threat, but he has to play around the fact that I have Celesteela in the back, as well as Lycanroc's Cellrock. So I'm just going to go for the Spirit Shackle, and his Mega Horn does 50. So this is either Adamant, and he got like a pretty good roll, or this is like a Jolly Insect Plate, or like Jolly Muscle Band, which I don't really think he is, but I'm gonna have to watch his side of the match to determine his sets. This could well be Adamant, but the fact that like I have stuff like Lati on my team doesn't really make me think he'd bring Adamant. And if this is an Endeavor set, he's more than likely fast to avoid just getting blown away by Lati. But if he's Sash, he could potentially be Adamant. But either way, that does a lot, and I want to preserve my Decidueye. It's important in this game. I don't know this thing's set. Decidueye is pretty important to defog on Stunfisk to take on the Coon and to check the Munchao. So this turn I am going to make the switch out into my Celesteela. Could have roosted up there. Could have definitely roosted up there, relying not on him getting another high roll there. Had I roosted up, I could have just defogged if he set up spikes. But again, I didn't really want to risk it. If he was something, like if he was like Insect Plate, I could have just died there, so preserving that would have been important. This turn he is going to set up spikes on my switch out. He lost nothing by going for spikes there if he did have it, because Spirit Shackle didn't kill, he lived another Spirit Shackle. And this is going to be an interesting turn. I'm just going to go for the Air Slash here. I want to see if he has Sub Endeavor, as that is a pretty good way of weakening my Celesteela for the rest of his team. So I am going to go for the Air Slash, as he does reveal Sub. Now, this is good information. This is definitely Sub Endeavor. Like, it's very obvious at this stage. I am going to switch out here into my Mariana. I know if he goes for an Endeavor here, I will be able to live a Mega Horn the following turn. But he is going to sub up here. Now, this is where I'm confident enough in my playing ability to make this statement. I very rarely choke. I think the last time I choked was when I was playing Maddie in NPL, and I didn't kill his Hooper or something like that with my Diancie, and his Hooper became a massive threat to my team. This turn of events here is certainly the biggest choke I've ever had in a while. So this is certainly an Endeavor Scolipede. I don't think it's like Ground EMZ. I definitely don't think it's Ground EMZ. I think it's Endeavor. He's shown Sub Spikes, Mega Horn, and I believe he's Endeavor. Earthquake doesn't make sense on a set like this, and even if it does, it's walled by Celesteela. So my play here every single day of the week is to recover spam his Endeavors. I have 16 recovers, he has 8 Endeavors. My two Skulls will break the sub, one will depending on his HP investment and rolls, but my play guaranteed is to spam Endeavor. He wants to keep this thing low so Suicune has a better time versus my team. He's going to set up a spike here, maybe predicting my recover that turn, I don't know, or just wanting to get another spike up before he started endeavoring. I am going to set up one T-spike. Now, this turn, I 100% should have recovered, but I make an awful play and I scald. Now this is awful, because had I just recover spammed, I guaranteed that QP stalled his Endeavors if he did want to stay in and start spamming that move. If he wanted to switch out, something got poisoned. If he wanted to switch out and then like switch back in to heal up to remove the T-spikes by being a grounded poison, something else would be poisoned and my Mariana would be recovered. It would be pretty full with Regenerator. It would be at full. So this was probably the worst play I've ever made in the format, and there's no excuse for it. It was just a shocking play. Like, if you can learn something from this, every single time in this situation you have to recover. But I attack here now. This, like, my mentality was he won't switch out. Everything's going to be toxic, everything's going to be grounded. If he is Crocoon, like Carmine Rescoon, I have Leech Seed Sally plus Decidueye, as well as Zydex with Outrage in the back. If he is Vinecoon, then he's going to be poisoned, so Vinecoon's affected, and this is like pretty much cut in half if it's poisoned. So very, very bad play on my part. Like, that was my mentality whilst I was playing. This game probably happened like an hour ago or so. But even so, like, I had no reason not to heal up with this Pokemon here. So he is going to go for Mega Horn and miss here, as I set up another T-Spike. Now, like, absolutely no reason to do so. I think I set a T-Spike there just in case, still under the assumption that I could handle a Suicune, and I wanted to get it badly poisoned if it was a Crocoon, because I feel like Crocoon is a bit more threatening to my I feel like Vinecoon is a bit more threatening to my team because it can avoid the Leech Seeds from Celesteela with the substitute, so I wanted to get it badly poisoned to accelerate the process of wearing it down. Either way, I had 2 opportunities to recover there. Really 1 opportunity. Had he hit Mega Horn there, he would have taken me out, so I really had 1 opportunity there to recover, or I had like 1 real opportunity, but I didn't take it, and that, my friends, that was a massive choke. That was a big throw, because preserving this healthy was so important. I mentioned earlier how it can check the Mineshout, it can check non-banded T-Tar, it can recover up on it, and especially if it's poisoned. Depending on the Muse set, I can check it if it's Taunt. That's a different story, but I have many things on my team to take on a Mew. I'm even faster than the Stunfisk, so I can recover up on that. And yeah, so basically I end up sacking off my Mariana, which is very unfortunate in hindsight, but you know, hindsight's a beautiful thing. So here I'm going to go into Greninja and just click Water Shuriken, taking out the Scolipede from behind its sub. He makes the play of going to Mind Shower, so nice way to scout for the Water Shuriken there, as I believe this was an Assault Vest Mind Shower, or I believed it was at the time, but he's pretty bulky, like he's reasonably bulky. He takes that kind of well, as he's now going to be in range of a Hydro here, so I am just going to click Hydro, as that wasn't revealing to be Scarfed damage. I think this was like a bulkier Mind Shower, and I don't believe at that stage it was Scarfed, but he's just going to switch out into Scolipede there. Either way, like switching into Scolipede was 100% his play. I don't think like risking U-turn there, and I don't think he was actually a Scarf variant, so Gren would have been able to outspeed in there, but he's just going to sack off Scully to the Hydro, as Scully is going to go down. So that's a pretty annoying threat to my team out of the way. But unfortunately, it came at the cost of losing my Mariana because of my own, silly choke there. So he's now going to bring in Suicune, and I am just going to switch this turn out into my Charizard, as I feel like his play 100% if he is Vinekune is to sub or to Calm Mind. He has no reason not to. If I bring in Selly, like he can always sub the next turn, but going for sub allows him to Calm Mind the following turn. Now he's going to go for Scald here. I don't really understand why he Scalded versus Gren, because if I was Toxic Gren, I literally toxic his Wincon, so pretty risky in my opinion, but he chooses to Scald. I'm not quite sure. I'll have to hear his perspective on that. But he's going to do 58 to my Zard, but that's okay. We can just roost up on this Suicune, and I am just going to go for the roost here. Now he brings in Mew. Now this could well have been a scout for Focus Punch Zard on his predicting his T-Tar to come in. Or even just the defensive Mew coming in to check this Charizard. So he probably knew I'd roost there, so going into Mew is free in a sense if it is a defensive Mew. So this turn I am going to go out into my Celesteela to scout for the Earth Power or the Dragon Pulse or the Calm Mind, as he does reveal the Taunt. So this kind of confirms my suspicions that this is a defensive Mew with Taunt, Roost, probably Willow, and maybe like Foul Play for Zard, otherwise it's kind of walled by Zard. And this kind of makes me think that the T-Tar is probably more of an offensive variant, so that's important to know. This turn I'm going to make the switch out into Zard, scanning for Willow, as he does reveal to have the Will-O-Wisp. Now if he's Taunt, he could well be creeping max speed Crook, which would make Mew very far less bulkier than like a max defensive Mew, so I am going to scout for that. I'm just going to go for the SD here, as I am hitting 264 speed with this Zard, which is faster than a Mew creeping a max speed Decidueye, so he's going to reveal the fast Taunt. So he was probably creeping Crocodile, which is interesting to know, but he does as a result he is as a result faster than my Zard, so I won't be able to SD up, but I will be able to go for 2 Outrages, which is gonna bring him very low. He actually reveals to be Rocky Helmet, so he's not going to be getting lefties back, but we are going to be taking a solid amount from the Helmet chip. So Foul Play won't kill me from here, and if he does go for Foul Play, he will die to an Outrage, so I will just be able to Outrage one more turn, as he does Roost up. And this is, if we get the 2-turn Outrage, I'm at 17. I can switch out and defog later with my Decidueye if I get a chance, and Roost up my Zard on his Suicune. But unfortunately, I get the 3-turn Outrage, so very, very unfortunate, as he does Foul Play me there. Had I been able to preserve my Zard, I could have gone out to Gren that turn on his Roost, on his Foul Play, or on his Taunt, and always just knocked him out with the Dark Pulse and preserved Zard. But unfortunately, I do get a 3-turn Outrage. There's nothing really you can do. It's like, I think it's a 50% chance to get 2 or 3 turns, but it's just pretty unlucky there. But now I will go out to my Greninja here. I threaten this Mew with a Dark Pulse, because this is a fast Taunt Mew with a Will-O-Wisp. This thing is honestly like nice versus the rest of my team. This is nice versus Lycanroc if he can heal it up. It's nice versus Celesteela from the Autonomized variant. He can always Taunt me, he can Will-O-Wisp me and wear me down like that. Taunt, Willow, Roost just beats Celesteela, so in my opinion it's in his best interest to preserve this. And I do expect him to switch out to something like Crocoon if he is Crocoon, to take the Dark Pulse and start Calm Minding up or resting up on my Greninja, or even just go out to his Mind Shower here. I'm going to make the switch out into my Decidueye, because I expect him to make that double, preserving the Mew for the Celesteela. Even though he does have the Suicune and the Stunfisk for Selly, preserving Mew is really nice, because Mew's solid here. But he actually opts to stay in and Foul Play, so I was sub there. I was actually substitute Gren, so had I gone for sub, I would have taken a Foul Play and been able to knock this thing out, and being able to fire off 2 Dark Pulses versus the Suicune. So That's pretty unfortunate, but he does choose to stay, and I'll have to hear his thought process there. Perhaps he just wanted a free switch into Suicune. Either way, I needed to capitalize on him going Suicune there, or Stunfisk, or even his Mineshower. I would have lived a knockoff with the Cobbleberry after these spikes at 34. So that's pretty unfortunate, but he does choose to stay in, and I'm gonna have to switch out again now into my Gren. If I can get Decidueye in later in the game, I can potentially roost up on his Stunfisk. I think I was at Ranger Health where I could roost up. Let me see. I was at 14. No, I would have died. I would have died to Spike. So at this point, Decidueye is death fodder essentially. So he's going to go into his I'm going to go into my Gren, as I am now just going to fire for Dark Pulse, as this is going to allow Suicune to come in, and he's going to Calm Mind up here. Now, I'm going to go for Leech here, assuming he is a Crocoon. In hindsight, Toxic was a fine play as well, because if he is Vinecoon and for some reason he doesn't sub, I essentially new to this mon. But the fact that he hasn't bought Vinecoon all season, he hasn't shown a preference for it, and Crocoon is pretty solid in this late game, in my opinion. The fact that he stayed in with Suicune versus a potential Toxic Gren, if you scouted my replays, he'd see that I like Toxic Gren, and the fact that he stayed in earlier with Suicune to just click Scald versus Gren made me think that this is probably a rest Suicune. So going for Leech here first, then clicking Toxic is better in that scenario, as it forces, at least then I'm recovering health with leftovers, and the Leech Seed recovery, and Toxic will just accelerate the need for him to rest. But if he is Vinecoon, in my opinion, his play 100% here is the sub, blocking Leech Seed and blocking potential Toxic. So he's going to fire for Scald here, interestingly enough, and I'm going to Leech Seed. So he chooses not to substitute there, and that's pretty important. So he is going to switch out this turn, as I do fire for Toxic, and he's going to go out into his Mineshower here. Had I Toxic that turn, it would have been pretty game-changing, you're going to see later on. But his Mineshower here is going to come in. I'm just going to protect as he chooses to sub. So this is not Assault Vest, and it's not Scarf. So this was interesting set. I thought this could potentially be sub pass into Tyranitar, like sub SD pass or something like that. And I still don't know this full set, but he's going to reveal the Swords Dance. So I am just going to go for the Air Slash here. Now, if he wants to Baton Pass, I want to at least pass off a Leech Seed versus the Tyranitar, so I am getting recovery back with my Selly. And he can't pass a sub, because if he subs up here, he'll die to Toxic, and as a result won't be able to Baton Pass the following turn. So if I protect here, that's a pretty nice play. But if he Baton Passes into his Tyranitar on my protect, I gain nothing out of that turn, and I'm really in the back. So I am going to go for the Leech Seed here, as he does choose to knock off. It doesn't do a ton to me at all. So I think this may have been a more defensive Mineshower. Or maybe Selly's just that fat. So he's now going to go into Suicune, and the fact that I didn't see him sub up earlier, the fact that he risked twice now a Toxic on his Suicune, I am going to go for the Toxic or the Leech Seed here, as he does go for the sub. So he is a sub Carmine Coon, and this this is interesting. I could have been Toxic Gren, I was Toxic Selly, and I could have Toxic him earlier if I was my Celesteela and my Gren, even my Gren, this Suicune would have died to the combination of Toxic over the turns. But unfortunately, this is going to be the end, because this Coon is now an issue. I'm just going to skip through the turns because it lasts a little bit. He said he wanted to get to +6 to guarantee the kill on Celesteela, and I can understand that. No reason not to go to +6. You really lose nothing by it. You're getting lefties back. It's all good. So he's just going to go to +6, and I'm going to have to sack off. Going to have to rely on a Hydro crit, a Mystic Water Torrent Hydro crit into a Z Stone Edge crit if he stays in with Suicune to have any chance here. So I'm going to go for it, but I don't get it, and I am going to lose to this Coon. So very disappointed with how I played that early game. I really feel like I won that game had I preserved Mariana, because it literally beat this Coon. He was Hidden Paraelectric, but Hidden Paraelectric does well and truly under half to my Mariana set. I hazed it into oblivion, and I even walled T-Tar with my Mariana, because he told me after the game he was a Scarf T-Tar. So very disappointed with how I played that game. I felt like I choked it. I choked at turn 3 when I didn't just spam recover. I had no reason not to. Had I spam recover, like, it would have forced his Scolipede out if he didn't want to use all of his endeavors and something else got poisoned. And then if he brought his Scolipede later on into the game on something like Gren or Lycanroc, it just died to priority. So I felt like I played that absolutely horrendously. And yeah, that's just how, like, it's interesting because when you play at such a high level, you rarely misplay, but when you do, it's so evident. Like, it's quite disappointing, but it's important to learn from something like this. And all the congrats to Risepool. He played a great game. He prepped a good team for sure. I think this Coon was very smart, even though I did have like some great countermeasures to it. His Endeavor Scolipede was a very smart bring as well, being able to whittle down Celesteela. But yeah, just pretty disappointed in the way I played my Mariano. Certainly could have won this game, in my opinion. Zard as well was a very big key player in this game, but he brought a really nice Mew to be able to check that, at least once anyway. Had we got the two-turn outrage, we could have come in later on in the game. If we didn't die to 2 layer of spikes, though I think we may have, so that I think we would have had to defog for my Zard to come in later in the game, I do believe. But it was definitely a fun game while we were playing. But yeah, definitely disappointing all the same to see such a horrendous choke so early with Mariana. But that's just how it goes sometimes. I think yeah, everyone's gonna throw a game every now and then. But yeah, that's just how it is. It was a fun season, and yeah, very very fun to be playing the CPC again. Haven't played for like 2 seasons or so, so it was fun to take over this team of Pauls and have an undefeated run to the finals. Unfortunately, yep, my own error really screwed over my chances in the finals, but yeah, you just got to learn from it. So I hope you guys did enjoy the season. I know it was a lot of fun using this team. Zard is a very nice core, and I just love Gren in the format. This thing is nuts. It was fun to use Decidueye again as well. I think this thing is pretty solid for sure, and obviously Mini Pex got to shine. Unfortunately, I didn't do it justice in this game, but it definitely came to one game, I think, earlier on versus Narth or something like that. So that was definitely fun. Lycanroc 2 was a pretty cool one. But yep, that's going to be my CPC run this season. Thanks to all you guys who enjoyed and supported over the course of the season. And NPL obviously will be returning with Season 8. I think, I don't know when we're actually supposed to start, but it'll be sometime early in the new year. So look forward to that. I don't know how much content will be going up on the channel over the next sort of couple of months. I'm now not in any leagues for the first time in a very long time, so we'll have to see with that. But yeah, we may have some more content up on the channel. But that's going to be it for today. Hope you guys did enjoy, and I'll catch you guys next time.